Day 3 of Shrine Bowl practices is in the books, and there was plenty to take away from Sunday's practice. So let's dive into all of that in our Day 3 takeaways on today's episode of Best Available. Thanks for watching today's episode. If you're not already, make sure that you are subscribed on YouTube and can follow us on socials at Best Available YT. Another great way to support the channel is to consider becoming a member. I'll leave details to that in the episode description. But if you like these on-the-road episodes of Best Available, which just seems like a whole lot of you do, becoming a member is a great way to help support future trips that we make through the channel. So consider that. Again, details to that in the episode description. Let's dive into Sunday's practice. Getting to and from the Star was difficult today. The roads are covered in snow and ice. The Dallas infrastructure is not prepared for this kind of weather, it seems. Very lucky that I am not flying out of Dallas-Fort Worth today. Last I checked, over 900 cancellations. Pray for me if you're watching this before Monday night that I can get out of here. Hopefully it's not too crazy at Dallas-Fort Worth. So fingers crossed on that. But on the field in practice, much sharper operation from both teams today. I know we talked a bit about yesterday, and even the first practice, a lot of procedural penalties. Offensive line on the East team was, really struggling. Thought everything got cleaned up today. It was a very sharp practice for both teams, which helped us come away with some, really good things, and actually, can actually see, especially in team periods, both sides operate. But the number one star of the day, Wisconsin EDGE Mason Reiger had, he's had a good couple of days here at the Shrine, but today felt like his breakout party. He's got an ideal frame for an edge, coming in at 6'4", a little lighter at 245, but 32 and 3/4 inch arms. But he was doing a little bit of everything as a pass rusher today. There were two plays on team that really stood out. One, he wins around the edge with speed and bend, gets really low, doesn't sacrifice speed to tighten that path to the quarterback. And then the very next rep comes out and hits a spin move. Just an outstanding job. And then even on, individual periods, he was holding his own and anchoring down against combo blocks. Had some nice reps, one-on-one and pass rush against some tackles. Just overall a complete day for a guy. And I've been trying to gather some information about him because he's not a guy I've gotten to on the tape yet. An interesting path for him. Started at Louisville, transferred to Wisconsin. Does have some injury history, which really stinks. Missed, significant time over the last few years. But when he's on the field, everything's talking about how he is just a legitimate pass rusher. Had 5 sacks this season, 5 sacks in 2023, the last season he had played before this one. So that kind of pass rushing juice is going to excite teams, combined with that length, and then just being able to, play with extension and through blockers, but also get around the edge, has a bag of pass rush moves at its disposal. I'm very interested to see what he looks like as an NFL player. If he can stay on the field and stay healthy, hopefully he gets a combine invite, because I'm very excited to see how he tests if he is able to participate in all those drills. A couple of corners stood out today too, particularly in one-on-ones, which we always talk about, naturally way more advantageous for wide receivers, a little bit harder for corners. But Notre Dame cornerback DeVonta Smith, no relation to the other DeVonta Smith, I thought he had a killer start to the day in one-on-ones, sticking 2 receivers, breaking up passes, even undercut a route for an interception. Was very fired up after that one. Yeah, a little grabby, but I think it's just natural in those one-on-one situations. But a nice day from the Notre Dame corner. Excited to see how that goes going forward. But no, that is a nice day to build on throughout the pre-draft process. And Toledo cornerback Avery Smith had a similarly nice day. Probably one of the, weaker measurables among corners on either team in this draft class, but he was sticky in those one-on-ones. I had a couple really nice plays where he's, adjusting his body to, attack the ball without going through the wide receiver to draw DPI penalties. And yeah, he's got some size limitations, but otherwise in coverage, I thought he was great handling all types of receivers, from slot guys to outside guys. That kind of versatility and playing and competing at this kind of level for a MAC school guy was really nice to see from Avery Smith. So I want to make sure I gave him a shout out as well. Absolutely fascinated by this guy, but Louisiana linebacker Jalen Duggar. He's been standing out just from the size standpoint all week. One of these guys that just has, like we talked about Eric Gentry, probably a lighter but slender man version at off-ball linebacker. But this Louisiana kid Duggar stands out. Almost looks like an edge. He's sitting at 6'4" and 5/8", 245 pounds, nearly 35-inch arms. Now, I'm not joking, man. When you see him up close, you think he's an edge, but he's got some of this quickness that you're not expecting. He even came away with a nice interception in team period. Maybe it wasn't the best throw, but he did a great job jumping the throwing window. And with that kind of size and quickness being that big, again, I would have expected a guy of his build to be with the edge group. But I thought he's done an admirable job playing off-ball linebacker. Really nice to see from a small school kid. Because, those guys, are pretty unheralded. We don't know much about them going in, but when someone, shows up and just stands out just by existing at that frame, and then they're able to make a couple plays, it's a little exciting. Hopefully see more from him. I'm curious to see if he gets invited to the combine, how it goes. But someone I'm excited to turn on the tape and, down the road and see, what kind of player this might be at the NFL level. UCF edge Malachi Lawrence was kind of just unfair today. They had tight ends trying to cover these pass rushers in one-on-one drills, and Lawrence just made them look like children. It was really unfair. I'm not sure what the purpose of it was, or just to make Lawrence look good, but another really nice day rushing the passer for him. He's just his first step explosiveness, being able to go inside out. He's got a couple, moves at his disposal. He's got, if I recall, some pretty solid length at 33.5-inch arms. So all of that, he's really checking a lot of boxes for me as a pass rusher. Someone that, has probably had their stock rise more than a lot of guys in today's Shrine Bowl or just in general this week. So Malachi Lawrence is a name I'll absolutely be paying attention to. Hopefully he gets a combine invite. I know I keep saying that for all these guys, but I want to see the athletic testing and see if that matches what we've been seeing at practice. I've turned on the tape on him already. I am impressed. Some of the run defense stuff for him worries me a little bit. Is it just he's trying to get into the backfield? Is he not as worried about gap integrity, stuff like that? But when you have that length and you can get that coached out of you, this could be a real 3-down player, either a late day 2, early day 3 guy. Someone I am, coming out of this week, and we'll talk, tomorrow about, biggest winners from the week, but he's someone I've circled on the list of guys I'll be watching through the rest of the pre-draft process. A few more names for you, and I don't know if we've talked about him yet, but Kaden Wetjen, the Iowa slot receiver, tiny little guy, but I think he has a chance to be, a fun utility player. It's both a return specialist where he obviously excels, limited usage on Iowa's offense, but had a couple of nice plays today. Tough catch between two defenders in their zone drops. Just got down and tried not to get crunched between those two guys. But that's a tough catch to haul in. He ran a little drag route, and just the play speed was really on display after the catch, because as soon as he got that ball, he just started burning past defenders. If they didn't take the right angle on him, he was gone. And he's been standing out consistently in one-on-ones. Shouldn't be a surprise with a guy of his twitch, explosiveness. Again, a smaller 5'9" guy, but he can really get in and out of his breaks. Could be, there's got to be a lot of things that go right for him again at that size, but with that skill set, it would be fun to see him on an offense where he can get some opportunities in the passing game. I had talked to him in an interview, and he was just talking about run blocking and how important it is. But for him, there's sometimes he just has to know, when he's trying to seal on a toss play or something, he might have to die. He just has to get in the way. So at least he has the right mentality for it. Texas A&M interior lineman Ar'maj Reed-Adams kept flashing for me today. I was trying to pay more attention to the O-line and team today just because so many guys have been struggling, but he was someone I thought had a really good day, both in one-on-ones and team. Felt like he was really trying to emphasize hand usage. So, striking and getting latched onto guys at the right time, making sure that their hands are inside, and then a couple times did a good job of resetting his hands when he initially did not win the battle. That kind of focus with a guy, he's a really unique kind of guard, bigger guy, but he has 34.5-inch arms. If he had a bit more foot quickness and fluidity, he could be a potential tackle, but a guy with that kind of length playing guard could be a really nice pass protector for a team. I'm excited to watch more film on him. He's a guy I've scribbled some notes on throughout the college football season, but I've not dove into the tape fully yet. So with a day like today, someone that I will be keeping an eye on going forward. And I'll give you another kicker special teamer update. I know we talked about Stonehouse. He was just bombing Hicks that first day. Haven't gotten to see too much of him since. But we did have some field goal unit practice today at the end of the day. And Trace Mack, went 3 for 3 on field goals, including a 55-yarder. I'm not going to be able to properly evaluate a kicker, but, it sounded loud off his foot. They were straight. They weren't really like close makes. They seemed all pretty clean. The operation seemed clean. You just seemed to have some real leg. The 55-yarder was probably comfortable by a few yards, so it was good to see that. I'm not sure if they're juicing the kicker balls at Shrine Bowl like they are at the NFL level, but to see a 55-yarder from a college kid who went 3 for 3 at practice, just a good sign. And you know me, if I'm going to see a specialist, just for some of the special team sickos out there, I've got to make sure that I mention it. And that's all the notes I've got from day 3. Not sure I will be at practice tomorrow simply because it's a walkthrough. I'm not sure how much you can get out of that. And with the weather conditions, man, $30 one way for an Uber, man, it's pretty brutal out here. So, we're on the fence. I've got my flight tomorrow night. I've got to check out of this hotel. So this might be our last, day of reactions, but tomorrow we'll be back in the morning with winners. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Comment with some guys that you're wanting to know some more about from Shrine. I do have access to practice film as well, so I can see if I can, take some time to watch those guys. But thank you so much for watching today's episode. Thank you for all the support throughout this week. It's been crazy to see the activity on these videos. So keep watching. Stay subscribed if you're not already, and we'll see you tomorrow.